Welcome to a tale woven with threads of danger, desire, and the supernatural. I'm AC Dawn, your narrator and author of Crystal Clear, a paranormal Halloween novella. I plan to release a chapter each day leading up to All Hallows Eve. Keep in mind, this isn't your typical professionally produced audiobook. It's a personal reading, and a chance for you to hear the story as it echoes in the mind of its creator. If you're eager to leap ahead and hear the entire tale, you can follow me on my Ream subscription for free and gain instant access to the full recording. But for now, let us take our first steps into a world where ancient evil stirs and the fate of humanity hangs in the balance. Chapter 3. Hanging like a deathly fog, spirits materialized around me as I pelted through the graveyard, dodging headstones. My long skirts swirled around my legs, slowing me down. I hitched them up around my waist. The cool fall air kissed my bare thighs, and even in the clutches of mortal terror, I wished I had worn prettier panties. Spirits from beyond, hear me, protect me from the unholy creature of the night. Goddess, grant your peace. Between gasping breaths, I said the words over and over, but the spirits didn't obey. They clung to me, whispering their needs, demands, and desires. "Help me," a spectral man choked out. "Tell my wife." Another old man with a trembling voice clung to my neck, squeezing in his anguish. "Help my daughter." A ghostly woman dug her fingers into my arm, bruising my skin. "Please, please save." The wail chased me as I swerved around a huge granite headstone. Tears streamed down my face as their despair and desperation buffeted me. But I kept running. If I stopped, they would consume me with their need, draining every bit of my life force with the demands I could never meet. Goddess help me. I had to get out of the graveyard. Every step was a fight. The spirits, sapping my strength, grew bolder. They pulled at my clothes and hair. The veil continued to thin, and their corporeal forms solidified more with each passing minute. I slowed to a walk, unable to run under their cloying weight. I fought for breath, clawing at the old man's arms around my throat. "Let go," I groaned, as I staggered forward under the ghostly dog pile. My legs shook and folded. Giving up the fight, I hit the ground hard, but refused to stop. The vampire was still out there, and I wouldn't just lay there waiting for him to catch me. I crawled forward, slogging for each inch like I was swimming through quicksand. If I could reach the far fence, maybe I could shake them free. I rasped out the incantation through numb lips. The words slurred together. My arms gave out, and I collapsed onto the manicured lawn. The grass tickled my cheek as a woman's ghostly face swam into focus in front of me. "You must help me. Tell Frank." I never heard what she wanted Frank to know. A pair of black boots stomped into my vision, and a rustle went through the host of spirits. A suffocating blackness enveloped me as the ghosts swarmed over me. Their terror coursed through me, and my final thought was that I was well and truly screwed if the ghosts were that afraid. I closed my eyes and gave myself over to the spirits. "Begone!" The order cracked through the silence, echoing like it had been shouted into a canyon. An old magic rose. Ancient and primal energy pulsed through the night. The spirits wailed, a bone-chilling chorus of despair as they were wrenched away, compelled to obey the command. The words penetrated the darkness that filled my mind. An irresistible urge to leave seized me. The ghosts scattered, and all I could think of was I had to go with them as commanded. Blissful weightlessness infused my spirit, and I let it go, like opening my hand to set a butterfly free. "Damn it all to hell, not you!" Strong arms snatched me up, but I didn't panic. The pressure, the oppressive weight was gone, and I floated in the sudden release of it. My spirit slipped further from my mortal anchor, following the compulsion of the command to be gone. It turned out dying wasn't that hard to do. My mother would have a fit, and Katie would miss me, but anything was better than dying at the hands of a vampire, or worse, becoming a vampire. My thoughts wandered as my soul distanced itself from my body. Hard, cold lips pressed against mine in a demanding kiss. The vampire's mouth slanted over mine in a sensual caress. My spirit reversed course and slammed back into me, called back by the promise of a vampire's kiss. Katie was going to have a field day with the fact that I decided not to die, so I could kiss a vampire. I had to remember to tell her the real deal was even better than the potion. And kiss him I did. As I came back to myself, I responded to his toe-curling kiss. His cold lips contrasted with the flash of heat that rolled through me. All the while, my mind told me to fight, to flee, but desire erupted deep within me as his tongue boldly invaded my mouth and silenced the panicked voices in my head. His scent, earthy and old, smelled familiar and filled me with longing for more. Burying my fingers in his hair, I pulled him closer, diving into his intoxicating taste that hinted of mulled wine and a peppery spice. Pleasure blinded me for a moment before unexpected visions swam into focus. Like my antiques, he was a vessel of the past, and triggered my magical hindsight. I tried to turn away, tried to stay in the moment that belonged to me, but his memories refused to be ignored. A raven-haired woman with the beauty of a goddess lay draped in an ancient gilt throne. Naked and smeared with blood, she opened her arms in invitation. He stepped over the corpses littering the ground, and I felt a profound tenderness tangled up with loathing and sadness as he lowered himself into her embrace. The woman's dark eyes lit with pleasure as his kiss brushed her lips. The moment spun on, like his mind didn't want to continue, but a heartbeat later, in a brutal show of force, he ripped the beauty's throat out in a shower of blood and gore. I jerked in the vampire's arm, trying to break the kiss. I pressed against his chest with all my strength, but his vice-like hold didn't yield an inch. He kissed me again, as if determined I would see everything. Terror and pleasure twisted through me. I wanted to look away, to unsee the brutal images, but I wanted to stay forever in the sensual heat of his kiss. More images tumbled through my mind. The same black-haired beauty crouched over a dead man, blood dripping from her chin, beckoning him. She smiled as the vampire cradled her face between his hands, brushing his thumb across her lip before forcibly separating her head from her body. More images, each more terrible than the last, cascaded through my mind like a sickening slideshow. I wrenched my mouth from his and flailed madly, kicking and punching. I may as well have been fighting a statue. My hand throbbed when I connected with his jaw, and he didn't so much as flinch. "Be still, Adelaide." With the command, my muscles went slack, and I flopped back into his arms like a puppet whose strings had been cut. I glared at him as I gritted my teeth and tried to wrestle control from his thrall. The vampire paused for a moment. We had been moving the whole time he'd been scrambling my senses with his wicked mouth and horrific memories. We reached the far edge of the cemetery that held the earliest plots. The gravestones hunched and leaned, some crumbling to dust. The names on the graves had faded to unrecognizable impressions, and the honeysuckle and ivy claimed the iron fence, pulling it down in sections under their weight. The spirits were quieter here. Most of them had moved on centuries ago. I could sense the mob of ghosts just beyond the shadows, but they seemed reluctant to come closer. Thank the goddess for small favors. Now all I had to deal with was the vampire, who was cradling me to his chest. I shifted self-consciously in his arms. He lowered me to the ground, and I pushed away from him, scuttling like a crab until my back met a large tombstone. Seizing the moment of clear thought, I cast a protection spell and laser-focused my intention. The vampire wouldn't be getting into my head again. Standing in the shadows, he towered over me with an annoyed expression and blew out a long breath, running a hand through his hair. He stared into the distance for a moment before dropping into a crouch in front of me. He moved so fast his motion blurred, and for a heartbeat, I thought he'd disappeared. I jerked away from him, cracking my head against the granite tombstone behind me. "Holy crap! Ouch! Don't jump around like that," I scolded, rubbing the back of my head. With some distance between us, and free of the weight of countless desperate souls, I had to gain control of this insanity. The moon peeked over the trees that edged the cemetery's border, and bathed the night in an unearthly silver light. I inhaled deeply and focused on channeling the moon's energy. If I was going to fight a vampire, I needed all the help I could get. The vampire grinned at me. I pushed away the impulse to grin back and gritted my teeth, keeping my magic coiled tightly at the ready. I forgot how easily mortals startle. I shall endeavor to move more slowly. He stood with an exaggerated slowness that was even more unnatural than his speed. I believe we need to start over. My name is Jason, and I am the Vampire King, also known as King of the Night or Dark Prince. I answer to them all. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Adelaide Buckley. He bowed with a courtly flourish and winked, looking like a rogue Renaissance prince. I burst out laughing, but the images I'd seen when he kissed me stole my breath and silenced my mirth. No, it can't be. I mean, you can't be him. That's crazy. The vampire frowned at me. I have in fact been crazed many times in my long life. However, I am not at this moment insane. That's exactly what a crazy person would say. I pushed myself up, leaning back against the headstone. Look, I don't know who you are or what game you're playing, but we're done here. I kept my mental shield firmly in place and worked my way around the headstone, planning to back away and increase the distance between us. He moved in a blur and blocked my path. I froze. He stood right behind me, so close his breath tickled my neck as he whispered in my ear, "Why can you not fathom your greatness?" I whirled around, anger warring with fear. My greatness? I'm the only Buckley woman who can't predict the weather. Don't patronize me. I hate that. He smiled another one of his lazy grins. You have the same fire as Adelaide, but she was much easier to convince. I rolled my eyes and huffed out a breath. Look, Vamp, this has been something, but I have to go. I've got a coven meeting. He didn't move, but the grin faded. Do you not know the legend? Do you not know what happens if I do not meet my queen when she rises? I know the legend, but you've got the wrong witch. I can only see the past, like when I saw you killing that woman in your memories. The last bit slipped out. I hadn't intended to reveal I'd seen his gruesome past. I held my breath. Now that he knew, what would he do? His eyes widened for a moment. Then you've seen her, Mariana, my queen. You've seen what I've had to do throughout the centuries. Agony etched across his face, and his gaze slid away to stare unseen into the darkness, or perhaps into his past. My heart squeezed at his obvious pain. Any romantic notions I had about the Vampire King's role in history evaporated at that moment. I paused, reluctantly replaying the visions I'd seen during our kiss. He'd killed the same woman over and over, exactly as the legendary Vampire King did. The message from my grandmother played in my mind. See what you have never seen. The future balances on the knife's edge. Great goddess. It couldn't be. Yet, what else could it be? My mouth was dry as sawdust, and I worked hard to get my words out. Let's just say for a moment you are who you claim. His gaze snapped to mine. Yes, let's try that, he said with a wry edge to his voice. In that case, we're screwed. Thanks so much for listening. As the shadows grow longer and Halloween draws closer, we will continue to unravel this tale of danger and desire. If you can't wait for tomorrow's chapter, you can follow me on my Ream subscription for free and unlock the full story right now. But if you prefer the suspense of waiting, join me again tomorrow for the next chapter. Until then, remember, the fate of humanity and a single heart hangs in the balance. Tomorrow, we venture further into the darkness.